All right, I'm gonna do kind of a quick review of a couple trades, both of which were profitable, but both of which could have been better. Which of course with trading, hindsight's 2020. Pretty much every trade could be better, and it's just about being able to go back, reason why it could have been better, the signs of what made it, what you could have seen to understand that this was your exit, or that this was a proper entry, this that there's plenty of variables to go over. That being said, let's delve into it. There's going to be this trade of the one I'm looking at right now on Blink Charging. um, you can see over here it says red 1069. I actually did come out about $700 ahead on this. It's just that pre-market right here I was up about 1700. So then when I actually ended up selling, I was only up like 700ish. But we'll go over that. Um, so the trade yesterday, I had closed a previous trade and I was looking for something to get into. The infrastructure bill was making the overall market look pretty solid, although both of the indexes didn't trade to new highs. They did, actually, I guess SPY did hit a new, or the Dow hit a new high. SPY and Qs both consolidated in a pretty close to all time highs. So like, market was looking good overall. Um, my trade here on Blink Charging, essentially it was trading way high on its relative volume. The average shares trade for this, as you can see right down here, is about 2 million. Yesterday, by the time you can see right here, this circle, this line is where, actually on this green candle right here, is where I entered the trade initially. I then tried to add on this dip, but unfortunately it wouldn't let me because I was already, I'd already apparently used most of my margin, which when I did the math on it, I should have still had like $4,000 worth of buying power, but I don't know. I'm not going to go into that. It's not worth discussing. Um, but so I got into it here, and then as you can see, it did really well. Well, I've been trying to be more of a swing trader and less of a scalper. Also, in that pursuit, I have moved money into this TD Ameritrade account as opposed to my Interactive Brokers account, which I primarily use for scalping. And this one is purposely and necessarily, because I don't have the capital to have two accounts above PDT, but it's purposely below PDT because I want myself to be holding longer, for those bigger time frames. Um, and as we can see, so this one looked really good. Initially, I was going to be well beyond satisfied if it made it to this support level here, which if we go to the yearly chart, you can see that support line I drew there was off of this old previous high right here. This is the one we were looking at there. And I was going to get rid of my shares here, this recent high. Well, I got ready to head to the gym yesterday, and the momentum was looking so good, I actually removed my sell order, and I was like, you know what, I'll let it ride. And then at this point, so I work second shift, and at this point, right before I was going into second shift, I get there at 3, right at market close in my time zone. I was really satisfied with what I saw, and then even satisfied with what I saw when I checked back in later, because I expected it to pull back into the close. That's completely natural. So let's talk about the disappointing part of this trade. Um, when I got to my PC this morning, I usually get to my PC somewhere between, I like to go to the gym first, and then I'll get here anywhere from 5:45 to 6:15, somewhere in that time frame. Well, I got to my PC right at 6, which is the earliest time I can submit an order with TD Ameritrade. So what I saw, as you can see, let's go to 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock is about right here. Now, I guess I was at my computer slightly before 6, because I was actually looking at it when it was right here. Which doesn't make sense. Regardless. I drew this yellow line because that's approximately where it was when I sat down. And I said to myself, I'm really happy with this profit. this could cover all of my bills for an entire month easily, even though, I would have ideally left it in the account and traded with it. But just in theory, it's a month's more than a month's worth of bills. So why not just close this trade and call it good? But then the other side of me said, with that bill passage and the overall market looking pretty solid, which, as we can see today, we've had a pullback, a bit of a pullback, nothing too dramatic, but a bit of a pullback. With that bill, we could see some continuation here. Now, obviously, in hindsight, I should have just closed the trade because I was very happy with the profit. It was actually almost half again. It was half again what I expected. It was actually about double what I expected. I was going to be happy if I made 3 points on this trade. And with my entry cost being my entry being below 34, having it, cruising almost $40 a share, I would have been very happy. But then the other side of me says, maybe leave the trade on. Should I have maybe locked in 2/3 and let 100 ride? Who knows? Probably should have just took it all off. And here's the reason I say that. One, volume to me is super important. And as you can see, all of this, there wasn't much buying power in the AM. Two, there's other news in the market. There's some stuff in relation to cryptos. There was another stock in this sector, like a competitor of this EVgo, that had news. As you can see, all the pre-market volume, all the traders were focused on this pre-market, which means a lot of times, I know for me, and I'm assuming other traders have this, where if you're focused on one stock, you don't want to worry about another. So if you're in the green, you just close the trade so your mental capital can be focused elsewhere. And I did think about that, and I did get a little nervous watching the tape because I wasn't seeing, like right now, we can see it's way down here, and we can see a decent amount of green, a decent amount of buy-in over here on the tape. And the tape was not looking compelling to me. So then it came off these highs, and it was right in here. And once again, I thought, you know what? I'm sitting like maybe this point, I was somewhere between like 1,400 and about 1,300, something in that range. And I said, maybe I should take the trade off. Maybe I should. And I was like, one more time, that other part of me said, what if we get a little pop out of the open from continuation? Then I'll dump it, especially if it hits this pre-market, these pre-market highs right here. And then I drew this line about simply because it correlates with a level from yesterday. I can't remember why I drew that one actually. Oh, okay. So off of the that line correlates with a consolidation area from yesterday, which was kind of like this support. It was a little below this support. You can see it bounced right there at 38. It bounced kind of again. It bounced kind of again. And I didn't want to draw the line right at 38 because I wanted to give it a little room to breathe. Because a lot of times you'll see it get to that level and then it gets below there and then the bid starts stepping in. Well, as you can see, it dropped. And then I said, okay, well, I have this longer line, which is that support line I talked about earlier from that previous high. This is that line I said I was initially had a sell order at, and then I took it off because the volume was so great. Yesterday, this stock traded close to, I want to say right about 4 times its average daily volume. Actually, more than that. It was almost 10 times its average daily volume. Yeah, because it's 2 million. Because yesterday by the close, this thing was closing on 20 million shares traded. That being said, what I've done here, you can see this little box. This is where I actually took the trade off. Now, once again, I could have had $1,069.11 more in this trade had I trusted my initial instincts with not being too comfortable with the tape, my thesis that people were focused on other things, but still part of me wants to hold longer. I want this to be more of a swing trade account. I want to switch to that Chris Kulamagi kind of style of trading. And I was hoping for some continuation, and when you're switching styles, you get that style drift when you're used to scalping. it's a learning experience, we'll say. So overall, I should be happy with the trade. I'm not happy with the trade. It was profitable, but it could have been significantly better. So here's where I got out, and here's my reasoning for getting out. I was kind of surprised that this didn't bounce off 37. And then I saw it kind of consolidate right here, right? Which was already lower than I was comfortable with. I'm going to tilt this down just a little bit. There we go. I should turn on a couple of these forward-facing lights. Which is already a little lower than I was comfortable with. So then I said, you know what? If this is lower than I'm comfortable with, if this thing bounces and rebounds with velocity, with good volume, okay, I'll stay in it and I'll wait for it to hit one of these lines. And then if when it hits one of these lines, the tape starts to look shaky, then I'll just get out. Well, it went up a little, it went down, it went up. And then on this green candle, I started to see the tape look fairly iffy. Got out. Said I'm done. I'm dropping it. Done with the trade. And it's a good thing I did, because as you can see, this blue line down here is my entry. As you'll note if you watch, I'm planning, I should say, to make more of these kind of trade reviews, mainly for my own purposes. This really isn't for anyone else. It's just I tend to have a problem with perseverating. I miss a trade. I don't execute a trade perfectly or as well as I would like to, and it just eats at me, for days, for weeks. And I feel like if I put everything out and speak my thoughts, I normally just record this stuff into Google Docs documents. I take screenshots. Like, that's why I draw these lines, and that's why I put a box here. Normally I put a little arrow here as well. One of these drawing tools when I get out, kind of like that. And I'll screenshot this, and then I'll type my reasoning. But in addition to that, I think this is going to be helpful. Because then, a few days from now, when I start to think of this again, and I start to get pissed at myself for my execution, I can think, you know what? You already journaled it. You already made the video. You know what you could have done. Move on. I need to have that concrete kind of thing set there so that I can move past it. Just unplugged my headset. That being said, it looks like I got in at a really nice point, and I wouldn't mind if I see this test 34 again. Maybe I'll get back in it. We'll see. But that's for another video if I end up getting back in it. It looks like I might have missed my window, and I'm not going to chase anything. So, to recap, lessons to be learned. 1, if you're really satisfied with your profits, look at this. Look at it. That gap. This was where I was extremely satisfied, this yellow line. And I could have sold way up here, I could have sold way up here. I could have used one of my day trades. I still have all 3 day trades for the week. I could have used one of my day trades and closed this when I was, opened my TD Ameritrade app on my phone and closed this trade when I was getting to work over here. But mainly, I'm not too worried about analyzing this part of it over here, because this is where I should be focused. Because I wanted to hold it overnight, and I saw the tape, and the tape looking shaky, and the knowledge that people were focused elsewhere, and this didn't have a new news headline, and then, of course, hoping to get some retracement when it didn't break that high or anything pre-market and the volume wasn't looking good. I'm guessing you had people selling. You probably even had people that were making good money shorting on this. If I would have been a really good trader, I would have sold my shares here, shorted here with my risk, risked in for 39, like a little over 39, and then I would have made money on this way down too. But, you analyze, do stuff like this, and grow as a trader, and someday maybe I will make money on both sides of that. So in summation, I guess, trust the tape, trust your instincts, and if you're really happy with your profit, just take it off. No one ever went broke taking profits,